Hey everyone, my name is Grace and welcome back to the show. This is episode number 4 and our topic for today is returning to Christ. And for this episode, I have a lovely guest with me. We have... Welcome to
Antoinette.
the show. How do you feel?
I feel a bit nervous, but I'm more excited. I'm really excited.
TK will do great today. So, just as an icebreaker game before we start into the conversations, would you rather be a believer in today's age or back when Jesus was still alive?
I feel like maybe back when Jesus was still alive.
Why is that?
I was really hoping you wouldn't ask me why. I feel like just like exposure wise, I feel like in our generation today, we're definitely more exposed to a lot more things. But that's only because we were not born in that time as well. But just like going off of the Bible, they didn't really seem like they had a lot of exposure
Exposure to
than
things, yeah.
what we have now. It's a lot more worse now. So it's a bit easy for us to get lost.
True. I also feel like faith-wise as well. It's like, well, you're seeing the Messiah.
Yeah,
Face to
exactly.
face, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, that would have helped with like your faith.
Exactly, because it's like it's right there.
Yeah.
Like,
but apparently that wasn't the case. The Pharisees still didn't believe. But anyways, let's get into the topic. It's a bit deep today, so
Okay.
I hope it's still okay. Have you ever experienced a moment where you felt as if like you wanted to go away from the faith, or you just felt like you had to lose faith because it just wasn't, you weren't profiting from it anymore?
100%. Yeah.
How
I
did
feel
that
like
go?
not great. It definitely wasn't great. It's not a great feeling to lose something that like you were born into. But then at the same time, I feel like it can be necessary sometimes, because then it's like when you do choose it for yourself, it means a lot more, because it's like it's something that you chose for yourself. But yeah, it definitely wasn't a great feeling for
So,
sure.
if I may ask, if it's not too personal, what was the cause to, I guess, losing your faith or parting ways from the faith? You know, what was the reason?
I feel like when you kind of don't know what your purpose is, because if I can speak on something, it's definitely like my family has a very big part on how we grew up in our faith. Obviously, we grew up in a Christian family, so it's like we're born into the church, and it's like when you're kind of born into knowing one thing, and then you get exposed to so many other things. It's like as you get older, you kind of want to know what else is out
Is
there,
what- yeah,
you know?
true.
Because it's like you grow up knowing what your faith is, but then like you don't really know what your purpose is. So those two things, they have to be hand in hand. And I feel like for me, it wasn't making any sense, you
That's
know?
true.
Yeah.
Because as much as like you can grow up into a faith, cool, calm, you Christian, okay, cool. But then it's like, I'm a Christian, but like, what am I called to do as
Exactly.
a Christian? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, how did you go navigating that stance for you?
Girl, it wasn't easy.
I bet it wasn't easy.
It wasn't
Yeah.
easy, because I feel like just obviously just getting older, the older you get, the more exposed you also get as well. But I feel like a lot of things just have to do with how you also feel on the inside, because I would get convicted about things so bad. It's to a point where like I would be like, oh, I don't want to do choir anymore. And then like when I see people up there singing, I'm like, my heart kind of feels heavy. And then it's like, is that what I'm meant to do? Is that what I'm called for? And then it's like you kind of have to go back into prayer, back into asking God again. And then it's like you just have to try and navigate through it, but it's not easy. It's not an easy
It's
thing.
definitely not easy. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like we kind of have similar experiences. Not even choir, but I just feel like generally most of the time it's like, because that's the thing that you were birthed into. You were
Yeah.
nurtured, everybody at the same time. So the things where it's like, okay, cool, we're here all at the same time, but it's like, am I really personally myself
Exactly.
meant to be here?
Yeah.
And I also feel like with the choir thing, a lot of us, it was kind of like a thing to help us find our feet. I guess you could say, like, to be nurtured as children, because we were young. We were quite young.
Literally.
We were quite young, so it's like a thing where it's like to gather all of us in one place to actually teach us the word. But then, as you said, when you grew up, you needed that time to like separate yourself almost, so that you could actually find your feet for yourself.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to ask, say for example, somebody who has lost the faith, somebody who has just like church hurt. That's another thing we're going to talk about, church hurt. But somebody who has lost their faith, and it's like they want to come back, but they don't know how to come back because they think that they're dirty, too dirty to come back. What is your stance on someone feeling too dirty for Christ?
I feel like Jesus really said it the best in the Bible. He said to come as you are, and he will pretty much take care of the rest, you know. But then at the same time, you have to take the initial step. Like, you can't just wait for something to happen. And then you're kind of just expecting God to do everything for you. Like, it's baby steps at the end of the day. Like, you have to take it every day as it comes. And it's not going to be an easy thing, but I feel like that whole concept of being too dirty to come to Christ, it should even exist. Because it's like, if you look at the people who are in the Bible, they're a very great example of how, like, our generation is today. Because it's like, yeah, because it's like if you take someone like Paul, let's say, like, if you saw someone like Paul in today's generation, in my right mind, I'd be like, he could never,
You tripping.
right? But then it's like, if you look at the Bible and you look at how he was and how literally Jesus turned him into something that was, you know, it wasn't expected. It's like there's nothing that's impossible. There's really nothing impossible at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if I may also ask, with your journey of returning back to Christ after, you know, finding your feet, finding your purpose, truly taking that time to ask God, like, what is my purpose in life? How did you go about that? You know, like, if you had specific measures that you had put in place to return back to Christ.
Definitely not running away from the church, because I feel like a lot of people, when you're on a journey, you kind of want to leave certain things behind, you know. And a lot of people want to leave church because it's like, if this is a place where I'm getting hurt, or if this is a place where, like, I can't really find who I am, why would I want to stay in that same spot, you know?
That's good, yeah.
But then, like, when you also grow up in a family that really does love you, they will literally encourage you to continue going to church, regardless of how you feel. Like, I could be on my deathbed and they'll be like, today's Sunday, you got to get up, go to church, you know. But then, of course, like, I feel like also just like going back onto baby steps, like you really do have to take it one day at a time. Yeah, you really do.
I like the way that you've mentioned that it's baby steps, and you also have to take the initiative, like you said before, because at the same time, God has already given you the salvation. You just have to go in and take it for yourself. You know what I mean? So, like, you can't really be expecting, let alone the people in your church, to also be the ones to come and to find room for you to come back to Christ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if Christ is truly somebody that you want to believe in, then you have to realize that, like, you have to know him for yourself. You have to make time to get to know him for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But another thing I wanted to talk about, church hurt. Have you ever experienced church hurt? To any extent?
I want to say yes, to an extent. But I always feel like some people have it worse than I do, you know. But yeah. I feel like I'm asking easy questions, like common sense questions, but it's like, how did you feel with that? Yeah. I feel like it made me more lost than I was at the time where I was experiencing it. Because it's like, you kind of have an expectation of, these are the people who are supposed to hold your hand through, you know, through navigating your faith as well. And then it's like, these are the same people who are also hurting you. And sometimes we don't even realize that they're doing it as well, because you have to remember that we are human. But it definitely took a lot of growing up for me to kind of realize that as well. Because when I was going through it, I think I was probably like 18, 17. But it's not just age. Like, you also have to grow in faith. You know,
that's good.
To kind of see it in that way as well. So,
church hurt. I'm so sorry. Personally, my apologies. Because, like, it's one of those things where it's like, these are the people who, even the Bible says, carry each other's burdens.
Exactly.
When one is rejoicing, rejoice. When one is crying, cry with them. And then to see them, like, do that to yourself, like, backstab you almost, it's very detrimental as well to your faith. But like you also mentioned before, you have to realize that we're all humans. Like, at the end of the day, you may get hurt. You know, the people that are serving, even church leaders as well, are still human. So it's better to not put anyone on a pedestal.
That's the one. That is the one. Yeah.
Because that also can taint your image of Christ, can taint your image of who you even expect people in the church to be, how they're supposed to be. But if you just realize that we're all people, we're all sick people, and we all need a doctor who is Jesus Christ. And you also give people grace as well, learning to give them the same grace that you wish that God gives to you as well. So, when you were returning back to Christ, because we can see that you returned back to Christ, even though it's still a process, but like, you
Yeah.
know, what through that process of returning back to Christ, would you say that it was a thing that you were willing to do? Like you told God, I want to come back to you? Or was it like a thing that God had to like force you to come back to Him?
I feel like it was 50-50. On my end, I felt like what, like in my right mind, obviously it was the right thing for me to do. But then at the same time, it's like I had people also tell me, like, you know, wherever it is you're heading is not,
good.
you know, it's not good. So, you know,
God's-
kind of look at yourself
yeah.
again, look at where you're going, look at your path and everything. I feel like that was also God speaking through them as well. So it was definitely 50-50, because I felt like it's something that I was initially born into anyway. And like when God has given you something, He doesn't just stop.
Stop.
You know,
Yes.
it's like no matter how far you go, if He really wants you in that position, He's gonna push you.
Push
He's
you
gonna
back,
look
yep.
for you, even underwater. Like you literally be like, "Nah, I'm hiding." It's like, "Nah,
Yeah.
you ain't going nowhere."
Take a look example of Jonah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my
But
goodness.
yeah, so it was a 50-50 thing that you had that desire for yourself because it's like, oh, I've experienced it before. I know Him to an extent, even if it may not be fully, but at least I have that relationship with Him to know that it is something that's
Yeah.
worth keeping.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what actually drew you, to be honest, to even create a relationship with Christ for yourself? Because I know you said grew up in a Christian household, but like that can't be everything. You know what I mean? So how did you get to know God for yourself?
How do I even answer that? Because I feel like it's so many things. I feel like it's also the people around you as well, like your environment. Because it's like I wasn't just surrounded by people who believed in God fully, you know. I had friends outside of church, and I had
Okay,
friends that didn't really they were not really in the same position I was in, you know. So it's like I saw both sides.
Both sides,
I think I got that opportunity to see both sides of like how it looks like to fully believe in God and like to fully put your whole life for
Into
Him
Christ, yeah.
and into the whole into building a relationship with Him, and how it also looks like to kind of like be in the world, you know. So it's like I was kind of weighing everything, and I was like, being in the world is fun. It's all fun and games until it's not.
Yeah.
Until you kind of have it slaps you in the face, and it's like, oh, time to wake up again. But yeah, I kind of love the side of like building a relationship with God a lot more than having to do something outside of it.
Him.
Yeah.
So, another question. Hopefully, we're still okay. But what do you think is the main reason to why even God allows us to come back to Him? Because, like you've gone, just for an example, people who they knew Him, but they're like lost their faith, and then they go into the world and they're doing like whatever. You know what I mean? Like they're experiencing life, and then God is still like, no, I want them to come back. I want them to come back, even though they're like at this point sinners, like grand sinners, although there's no such thing. But like, you know what I mean? What do you
Yeah.
think is the reasons why God calls us back?
I feel like God is so selfish because at the end of the day, it's all for the glory of His name, you know? Because it's like if you're, I feel like a way for me to look at it, because if I just look at it with one mind, it doesn't make sense why God want that to come back to Him, you know? But then again, it's like He will do anything for the glory of His name. At the end of the day, He's gonna protect that. Like that's literally His glory. So it's like if you go through something that would will make you praise God more, He's gonna allow you to go through it because He already knows He's gonna receive the praise at the end of the day, and it's gonna be tenfold what you had before. So it's like He's
not
gonna
sitting right with Him.
It's not. He's gonna pull you back, and like when He does pull you back, and you're there 100%, it's gonna be more than what you did before for the glory of His name, because that's what He has to protect.
Amen.
That's just
It
how
kind
I
of
see it.
also puts into perspective that song by Corey Asbury, Reckless Love of God. Like it just makes more sense now. Like He will do
Right.
anything to get back His sheep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, this is just for like people on the outside. How would you advise someone who, say for example, a sister in the church is like telling you, oh my goodness, I want to leave the church. Like these people they're not being church people as they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
How would you advise someone like that?
I feel like the old me would be like, girl, you do what you gotta do. Because at the end of the day, I feel like there's some things that are necessary to experience for you to be like, when I come back, it's going to be more.
More better.
But then the me now is definitely like living the church. It's like you're living a whole community that has helped you draw close, or like to even get to where you are in life, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
So I don't think it would be a wise thing to do, but there's some things that are also like necessary. Yeah, like they're kind of necessary. But I definitely would advise someone to probably speak to someone that they would trust, and really try to open up, or even try to seek healing as well. Because seeking healing is also another thing, you know.
Especially if it's from church hurt.
100%, 110%. But yeah, I think that would probably be my best advice. Maybe speak to someone, or even like I don't know.
Just do what you gotta do, as long as it's still finding ways to glorify God in the middle of it.
100%.
Because honestly, like you said before, like leaving something that you've experienced and you've pulled yourself into, it's kind of like you shouldn't have never started in the first place. You know what I mean? But like if you truly do find value in what you had to begin with, then you should truly do everything you can to fight for it and to keep it. Also, another question for those, you know, who could be experiencing this, and when they watch it, you know, they hear something and they're blessed by it. How would you go about telling someone who wants to return to Christ? I know you answered this and said that nobody is too dirty to come back to Christ, but somebody feels like that. You know, like it's the only thing on their mind, that they feel as if they're way too dirty to come back to Christ. And you've already told them Christ still wants you anyways. Bring all your burdens to Him, but they're still like, I just feel too dirty to come back to Christ. I
know it's like a vague thing to say, but I'll definitely say just take the first initial step, you know, because I feel like there's some people who would come to Christ, like they would be in a position where they feel like they are too dirty, but as soon as they take that first initial step, that's literally where God catches them like that, you know, because it's like you don't know how God can work. So it's like it's a vague answer, but it's like just take the first initial step. Just go to a conference, maybe go to a concert, because you don't know how God is going to touch you. You don't know how God is going to work. But also probably I'll probably say to also kind of start reading the Bible first. Like just start somewhere, you know. That's good. Don't just stay being dirty, or like don't just stay feeling how you're feeling. Like just start somewhere. Do something outside of what you're first doing, you know.
Get a different scenario, get a different environment. Yeah. So with people who do, or even just for you, was your desire to come back to Christ greater than the desire to stay?
Yes. Yeah. Because my sister told me this, and she was like, your fear should be greater than your comfort, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's how she worded it, but I feel like that's right.
Somewhere like that, yeah.
Somewhere along those lines. I feel like because I get so scared of being stagnant, like being stuck somewhere. So it's like, if I'm stuck in a position where like I feel like I'm not evolving, or I'm not, you know, like I'm not growing, I'll definitely want something different, something new. So it's like I've always wanted to try something different. So why can't I try it with God? Like why can't I try it with God? It doesn't make any sense for me to just try, you know. But yeah, like definitely was. Yeah.
Your desire definitely was.
It definitely was.
So even for people outside, they have to get to a point where your desire to seek Christ has to be greater than their desire to stay. That's really good. That's really good. I've really enjoyed having you here, to be honest. But last advice, just anything. Do you have anything that you want to share from your personal experience? You know, something that you've encountered with God, something that God has taught you that you feel like, why not share it? It could really help somebody, because we all learn something, not to keep to ourselves, but to share it eventually.
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like when I first kind of like removed myself from ministry and like kind of wanting to do it, I did it by myself. I feel like for anyone that would be wondering like how do you even go back? I feel like if you want to remove yourself from ministry, do it with God.
Amen.
Like do everything with God, because it's like just continue praying, continue seeking God in your own way. Like if you're going to remove yourself from ministry, do it, but continue praying for it. Because it's like you don't know how God is going to work in that way as well. And I feel like the best thing that I prayed for was definitely the spirit of discernment, because it's like it wasn't just discerning what was good and bad. It was what was good and what was better for me.
What was better for
you know?
That's good.
So it's like that's definitely one thing I really, really prayed for, because it's like if this is good for me, I want to know what else is better.
It's better.
Yeah. So
There's
That's
some
all.
wisdom that's just dropped there. That was really good. But we thank you guys so much for tuning in to the episode today. Lovely guest, Antoinette.
Thank you.
I'm really glad we did this episode. This was so amazing. Personally, that was such a beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode, and God bless you.